Good evening and welcome to the Cheese Room. My name is John. I'm your host for this evening. I am not Gary Neville, despite what Dave has written in the run sheet to say that I am, and I'm not going to the Qatar World Cup either. Tonight we'll be having a quick look at the theft of the League Cup place by the Merry Men of Nottingham, previewing the Leeds game and talking other nonsense that Dave has written in the run sheet. Just to prove it, I took a screenshot of the run sheet. There you go. Dave has written that in his own run sheet. Well done, Dave.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
Start with you, David. How are you, mate?
Yeah. No, I'm really good. Really good. I've been at a work conference this week in the wine region of New South Wales, so it's been a tough week.
Yeah. And what time is it now? You caught up a bit, haven't you?
Yeah, no,
we're ahead of us.
No, we're 11. I'm always ahead of you, John. Come on. We're 11 hours now. Beautiful blue skies outside. Unlike Melbourne, we can't host a tournament. Anyway, hello.
You're talking about the Cricket World Cup final, which is going to rain, isn't it, by all accounts on Sunday? Brilliant.
That's right. Yeah, Cameron's in the chat. Morning, Cameron. Hope you got your hot dog with the cheese on that you like to have.
And joining us from Brooklyn is Jack, who's going to be mainly defending Gil Messi and talking about Ted Lasso tonight, I believe, Jack.
Yeah, some would say my comfort zone. Some would say playing to my strengths here tonight. Looking forward to it. You guys have put me in, the right position. I'm going to, put in a performance just like how maybe a certain Hill Messi would, which is probably ending up with no goals or assists, but memorable. Pretty horrible weather over here in Brooklyn. Doesn't look like we could host any cricket either, Dave. So by the looks of it, even it's very rainy, kind of miserable. Probably the feelings of most Spurs fans is really, by the looks of it, the weather here in Brooklyn.
Wow. So does that mean if you're putting in a Hill Messi performance tonight, you're going to come onto the show 10 minutes before the end?
Means my hair is going to probably get slightly wet, going to probably be able to complete one or two crosses, and I think probably enough to make at least a 2-minute compilation reel is what I would
Beautiful.
say.
Yes. Thanks for that, Jack. And joining us for the third time, I think now, a very old friend of mine who's joining us from Brighton, but he's a Brummie who supports Leeds. I've no idea how this works. It's Derek. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, John. Thanks for having me back. I guess after we spoke at the end of last season, I thought it could have been 2 and out, but we've somehow managed to survive the end of last season at Brentford, and so I get 2 more goes to be on here. So let's hope. Let's see what happens after these 2, but maybe it might be just 2 more and done.
And also in the green room before the show, Dave and Derek were drumming up a whole music pod they're going to talk about. I think there could be a whole spin-off here going about their music and love of stuff from the 70s and 80s and from before. So on to the Carabao Cup, Dave. You spelled that wrong, but the Carabao Cup.
Sorry.
You missed out on that. Derek. Sorry. Leeds lost 1-0 to Wolves, which is quite a popular score for Wolves. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, to be honest, wasn't unexpected. It seemed, our away form this season's pretty poor, and it seems like certain players are struggling with a bit of form, which may have an impact on the lineup for tomorrow. But there's a lot of negative talk about Jack Harrison, and maybe that his head's been turned when Newcastle were after him, and he's maybe thinking, you know what? Oh, they're playing. They're at the top of the table. I'm playing for a team that aren't at the top of the table. Maybe it's time to hatch an escape plan, because he's playing like he doesn't really want to be there. But I wasn't expecting to get anything. Our away form's been pretty shocking, which doesn't bode too well for the next 24 hours.
Well, we'll come to that. But it does say, Dave has written the sheet that they made 10 changes. Do you think Marsh was right to basically not take it as seriously as he could have done?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, do we really expect to do that well in there? No. The priority, definitely the league, and with the kids and the youngsters that are now starting to get some game time, it probably was the right thing to do, and probably try and get a result tomorrow. We got 6 long weeks before our next game, which only happens to be Man City. So if we can sneak something tomorrow, it'll bode well going up to, I guess, Boxing Day.
Obviously, Spurs fans are, desperately sad that we have gone since 2008 without winning a trophy. John Major was the Prime Minister when Leeds last won a trophy. What's the general feeling in Leeds fans?
Well, I guess it was a shame Liz Truss wasn't there long enough for us to try and break that.
I don't think anyone won a trophy.
No, I don't know. Didn't someone win the Super Cup? But that's about
probably,
it.
Yeah.
But no, it's going to be a long time before we're getting anything done. I mean, the fact that the 49ers are looking to complete a bit more of a buyout of the club, may invest, so there may be a little bit more investment for Leeds. But even then, it's hard to compete with the guys that are in the top 6, 7 already. We'd have to spend, maybe $500 million to even get back on some sort of keel to that level. Not realistic. So let's see how we can, I guess, plod along and maybe sneak a cup run somewhere every now and again.
Yeah. Okay. And Dave, I just want to bring this up. Kerry has spotted your new additions to the man cave. Got some more ducks.
Yeah. I thought I'd share with the cheese room my collection of bath ducks, which including the one I got, the Tottenham bath duck, which I got online because Levy doesn't sell them in the shop anymore. It's another reason I hate Enid, because they don't sell the bath ducks anymore in the shop. It's very important.
Some said the first reason. It all started there.
It all started with the bath duck, and it's been downhill. The bath ducks, and then AVB, and then I was done.
So anyway, let's quick. I mean, I did an hour-long show with Matt Hayes and Gibbo and HG on Wednesday. Derek, mate, Leeds got a chance because our players are tired from counting their money. We'll come on to this, Adrian. We're going to quickly do the Forest game very quickly. Starting lineup, Jack. What was your thoughts on that team? Were you surprised Kane started?
I think we all, in an ideal scenario, didn't want Kane to start, but we have to acknowledge the injuries that we had. And Richarlison, I think, was, said he wasn't able to start. He'd only been in training for 2 days. The likes of Kulusevski also wasn't able to start. Lucas Moura wasn't even on the bench. So by that stage, we're either left with Hill Messi turning into a number 9, which was a true shame, or we kind of just have to basically throw Harry Kane up top. We could have maybe gone for something kind of really unorthodox. I don't know, like put Perisic up there alone with maybe like Hill on the left, and maybe we throw Doherty as a right winger or Spence as a right winger. Like we could have gone for something really crazy if we didn't want to play Kane, but all those kind of injuries I just mentioned, we were almost kind of forced to play Kane. So I don't really blame Conte for playing him.
I mean, do you think Spence should have started?
Yeah, I think we all thought he should have started. That's for sure. Let's be honest. I think Doherty and Emerson are sort of played in and out. After one has a good game, he'll play him the next game, and then they end up, as per usual, kind of failing or just really underwhelming in some sense or another. So I think Spence, this was a deserved opportunity for him. I think we had seen enough of Emerson and Doherty. It's not like we were really going to learn much more about them. And I don't know, I feel like Spence would have really come into this with a lot of energy. He was brought on quite soon, like he was brought on in the 60th minute. So he was given a whole 30 minutes. Perhaps Conte wanted to be 1-0, 2-0 up by that stage, and then he could have brought on Spence. Maybe he didn't want to put pressure on him. I'm not really sure, but he definitely should have started in my books. And it's one of the things I will criticize Conte for is the whole Spence situation.
I mean, I'm sure Conte wanted to be 1 or 2-0 up. He clearly didn't let the players know this because they couldn't be bothered.
We're always 1-0, 2-0 down.
Yeah, at the moment. Dave, let's forget the first half because that was a non-event and I pretty much missed it because my streaming was dodgy. DaveO, Cess at fault for the goal and Sanchez position dodgy as Tony Adams' cha-cha on Strictly, you've written for me.
Yeah, it's dodgy as Tony's cha-cha, let me tell you. Look, I think Sanchez's positioning on both goals was abject. And that was it the second goal that Cess did that run, lost the ball. As I said at the start of this season, this is Cess's make or break season for me.
Yeah.
I.e. assertive down the left wing, beats the man, gets goals. And he got bullied by James at Chelsea. I'm afraid to say, he's just not good enough. We've had him now for 3-4 years. Has he done another hammy again?
Yeah,
So
has.
he got injured second half. To be fair to him, he played the last 10 minutes or so injured because we'd
Right.
made all our subs. He could
Right.
he probably should have come off, but he stayed on the pitch. So I'll
Okay.
give him a bit of credit for that. But you are right. He is well underperforming at the moment, the level
He
that
made
should
Trent
be.
Alexander-Arnold look like a good defender, and I think that's where it's a problem. As Trent was supposed to be taken advantage of, and I'll be honest, there are a few times where I thought Trent read Sessegnon quite easily in a few moments, and I'm like, this guy is like struggling for confidence against any sort of player, and I don't know. It showed a lot when Sessegnon unimpressed against Liverpool. He obviously was going to unimpress, I think, against Forest as well. I think he was coming up against a much better defender for the likes of Forest too. So it was.
Well, hang on a minute. He was up against Serge Aurier.
Oh, jeez, I forgot. I actually forgot it was Serge Aurier. Actually, Dave, just quickly, I'm going to actually shut up here, but I thought you would appreciate this. I think as a Spurs fan, we actually had the pleasure to see all 4 of our failed right back signings of the years in the same stadium at the same time. Jed Spence, Emerson Royale, Doherty, and Serge Aurier all at the same time for your pleasure, Dave. So I don't know your thoughts on that.
If only Kieran Trippier and
well, that's not failed, but maybe you could throw in.
Wait, if only Kieran
definitely
Trippier,
throw Walker Peters in there. That would be glorious. That would have been
had
fun.
a lads' night out in the boardroom watching the game, and we could have had a nice picture. And then maybe Carl Walker could have turned up and said,
they all should have taken a photo. Yeah, all the right backs. Yeah, together after the game.
It's like a reunion. It's a reunion of mediocrity. Beautiful. Trippier's last. That. Yeah, no, I do appreciate that. Trippier's last season at Tottenham, I'm sorry, he stank the house out. So that history's always kind on that one. But the fact of the matter is, Cess is not good enough. Now, people are going, he's got to go in January and all the rest of it. He won't be sold in January. And everyone's also going on about Destiny in Serie A. Destiny's 19 years old, right? So he's going to come over next season. Apparently, Conte has said that in the press conference, something like he hasn't spoken to him or something. And I'm beginning to really be very concerned about Paratici's ability to recruit young players. I don't think his track record's been very good so far.
I don't think he recruited Sessegnon, but.
Well, no, but move forward to what he has. Anyway, we diverse.
Sorry.
Go on, Dan.
With those, I guess with Sessegnon and Perisic, is there a difference in the way you guys play depending on who starts? Because it seems like they both seem to be starting the same number of games for Tottenham.
Mm-hmm. I think the issue is that Perisic is 34 or 35 years old, entering a World Cup, his last World Cup, I'd imagine. And he also hasn't been that great defensively, I would say, as a left wing back. He's been a whole lot better going forward than Sessegnon, a whole lot better. He could even be better. I think Perisic, we all think, might even be slightly underperforming, even because we know he could be a bit better there. But Sessegnon, as I think Dave just spoke about before, was really just completely unimpressive at left wing back going forward. And he's been not really that great defensively either. I think last season he was okay defensively, kind of showed some strength against the likes of Salah and other players, but this season he hasn't been that great defensively, and he's been woeful going forward. Woeful.
Yeah, I think Cameron's comment about Udogie is true. He has been playing
he's
well.
absolutely smashing it. He's like the best left wing back in Europe at this stage, if I'm not
Greg
mistaken.
is saying he's injured. I wasn't aware of that. But
he was tearing it apart in the beginning of the season. I think
he really was.
It.
But he's been really good. And the last couple of players we got from Serie A who haven't turned out too badly, have they?
What?
Where are we going?
You mean the one who'd rather play for Argentina than Tottenham at the moment? That one?
No. The last two,
Romero,
Bentancur and Kulusevski.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, we like them, but Romero, I'll tell you something. If there's somehow that we could get a decent, a better player than Romero in January, I'd get rid, because I think his attitude's been disgraceful.
I am concerned by this. I am very concerned. Jack, what do you think about this?
I think Romero has shown us a lot of faith in the past. The guy apparently has played through injuries before when the medical team has advised him not to play, and he's played through them. I think there have been moments when even Antonio Conte has had forced him to not play or suit or anything. I think there have been well-documented occasions of when he's played through injuries for us. And as we all know, when he is actually playing, he leaves absolutely everything out there and does enjoy a good tackle and enjoys getting stuck in more than the rest of our defenders. So I kind of give Romero more of a pass simply because he resembles the attitude of the defenders that we want to have at this football club. Maybe there might be that Argentinian sort of connection there, but I sort of feel for the Argentinian players, John, because they're basically, I don't know, like Argentina hasn't made it much of a secret of how they want their players to prioritize their team this season over anything. And that sort of pressure, I would imagine, on players, if they don't want it, is still probably quite stressful, awkward to deal with. Like, it means if he did, let's say, I don't know, like that Argentina could threaten to not choose him for the team. They could threaten him not to do, to include him for the World Cup. They're that kind of, I don't know, they're that vicious of an FA this season. They pretty much have made it quite clear to all their players that they want them to prioritize the national team. And I don't think Romero is guilty of that. I think some other Argentina players certainly are, but I don't think he's guilty of it. But I think we should appreciate that that's not an easy situation to be with. I think that, like I made the joke before, some people thought it was quite easy. I think it'd be like if your mom and your missus asked you to do some chores at the same time. Which one are you going to do first?
No comment.
Some thought it was an easy answer. Some thought it was an easy answer. So there you go.
Well, my wife, I think, because I live with her.
Hang on, is that the time? I must be going.
Hey, if you're single,
I don't know. I feel for Romero. I think it's a situation where he's probably given that tag quite unfairly, but don't get me wrong, a lot of Argentina players are very guilty of the thing that you are insinuating.
Okay.
I'll just point out that when Romero signed for us, and he was told clearly not to go to Brazil or Argentina because of the COVID restrictions, and he got on a plane and went. So that's what I'm saying.
No, that's not a bad one to mention. But I would say most recently he's played through injuries for us, and I think he's still by far our best defender by a long shot.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I'm pretty disappointed that the vibe I'm getting is that he's not playing and he doesn't want to play now. And
I think once Argentina lose, there will be less pressure on the team in the future. It's Messi's last hurrah. We all know that it's just a special scenario in Argentina. It really is. It's just how it is. I'm pretty sure Brazil is going through the same thing with certain players. I just sort of feel for Romero. I really do. I kind of think that's not an easy situation to be in. And given the lack of answers that I received from that chore question from the missus and the mom, it shows that it's a difficult situation to find oneself in. So I'm going to feel for him.
Oh, chat, you're on fire tonight, mate. You're good.
I'm well prepared. You shouldn't have given me the script.
The Celso out of the World Cup is a real shame because he's been playing well for Argentina, and definitely we might have got some money for him at long last, but we won't now, will we? He'll probably get loaned for another 3 years.
I thought I heard that he'd refused an operation because he's trying to go to the World Cup. That's what I heard.
You're right, but I think he turned out he wasn't picked or something like that. I think they've said he's injured, so that's what I heard today. I'm sure Adrian's always very good on this. He can probably comment. Right, what was I just gonna comment? I was gonna say, Conte was rushed back and got injured. Romero was rushed back and got injured. Conte addressed this. I don't always believe what Conte says in press conferences half the time, if I'm honest. We'll come to that with some of the comments I've got for us to show later on. So Spence came on and in half an hour was probably man of the match, but very low bar. But he did look good. He went straight on a 70-yard run, didn't he, Jack?
Sorry, are we speaking about Messi already? I think maybe it broke up.
Spence.
Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I think I broke up and missed the first part. He did come on in for half an hour, and I thought it was brilliant actually. And he showed everything that the rest of the wingbacks just don't do: the courage to take it past his man, the ability to actually sort of make things happen out of nothing. We all know that. I think Doherty is most guilty of this, just passing sideways or passing backwards whenever he receives it. Never really courageous enough to really try to take it past his man. I think we all knew he was going to do exactly what we sort of saw from him, that sort of dynamism, that sort of progressiveness. But I don't know. Is it weird to say that we sort of knew that he was going to do this, that we just sort of know that he is at least going to offer something that the rest of the wingbacks don't? I find that maybe quite a boring answer. I apologize, but I think we have all been waiting for Spence to be freed, like King Otto has said, to be released. And what he brought in those 30 minutes, I thought is exactly what we've been sort of looking for. Just something that's a lot different than the rest of the wingbacks. And also just that sort of bravery, I think, to do things that the rest of them don't, which is simply just to make things happen and try to take it past his man.
Dave, anything on Spence?
Oh, sorry, I was just distracted by a toxic headshot.
We don't rest the real issue ownership. Dave will do that later. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. More than happy. Yeah, look. To be honest, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I saw because someone had put a link onto Twitter, and I'm not on Twitter, and they showed just the highlights of Spence, like what he did, like 4 or 5 things. So it looks like he's more direct. He likes to take a man on, and he cannot be any worse than Emerson and the Doc. He can't.
Word is actually Emerson Royale's
an inverted Perisic.
Word is Emerson Royale's compilation producers made the same one for Jed Spence. Actually, he reached out to Emerson Royale's producers.
Yeah, well, Emerson Royale spent, was it $500,000 on trying to make himself a better player? I hope he's kept the receipt.
100,000.
Oh, was it? I hope he's kept the receipt.
Yeah. Jack, go on. Talk about the 15-minute Hill Messi cameo. That was
Not my favorite of them. I think we've been given better ones. I don't know where to start here because I kind of know that I'll probably, I saw the run sheet, I saw the script, so I don't want to get too much ahead of myself. But what were we given? I think we were sort of given the opportunity to see what he could offer down the left. I had actually originally thought if we were to play Kane, I didn't maybe say this earlier, probably would have been a better answer if I had. Where if we were forced to play Kane, like I explained, we could have maybe gone for perhaps, I don't know, somebody on the right, maybe a Jed Spence, somebody like that playing as a right winger, something like that, Doherty or Emerson behind him. And then maybe someone like a Brian Hill actually playing out wide as sort of a left winger. You could have even also put Perisic as maybe a left winger. Brian Hill is a right winger with Kane up top. I think the 3-4-3, we've looked a lot better this season. So with any time that Hill has come onto the pitch, I think we are obviously seeing that he brings something slightly similar to what Kulusevski is able to bring, in that he just offers a bit more composure. He doesn't give the ball away nearly as much as the rest of the players. And he's also able to kind of just sort of make things happen, which, let's be honest, that's why I keep using that word, is because Spurs, whenever we watch us, nothing is really happening. Nothing is really being created. And all we're really crying out for is just somebody to just take a bit of initiative and actually just create something out of nothing. And I think exactly what Hill was doing. I kind of had wished maybe he did start, because I think we could have had the opportunity to play 3-4-3, play Perisic on the left, Kane through the middle, and then maybe Hill on the right, then sub off Hill maybe in like the 60th minute, which would have been Dave's favorite part of the match, and bring on Kulusevski.
So can I just check, has the combined number of Hill's appearances in minutes, has he reached 90 minutes yet for Tottenham?
I think that's the beauty of Hill Messi, is that, it's almost like hors d'oeuvres or almost like appetizers at a fine, restaurant. It's just very small quantities, very small portions. Dave, eventually, we'll be given the large portions. The elders, the prophecy of Hill Messi assures it.
And I don't know what restaurants you go to in Brooklyn, but 25 million quid for an hors d'oeuvre is pretty expensive, wouldn't you say?
Quite standard over here, I would imagine.
Since we're tipping on top.
Yeah, exactly. The 20% tip as well. That's where the Lamella comes in.
Lamella.
Falls over as he walks away from the table.
That's a tip in Brooklyn. You tip a Lamella.
Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of the ball, especially when they went down to 10 men. And frankly, the challenge could have been a red card by itself, the second yellow, because it was a real scissors challenge. But we just had no cutting edge, did we? The 2 shots on target, I believe, were Doherty and Spence. And that was it. Otherwise, we just looked toothless.
Yeah, I would say Spence's effort was probably one of the best ones of the evening. I was surprised that the goalkeeper is even able to jump. He wasn't even rooted to the spot. He barely had to move all evening. Perisic and
Oh, wow.
Kane were just non-existent the whole game. And so another game where I feel like the 3-5-2 just didn't work for me. I think we have to play the 3-4-3 in order to create chances. I just simply think in this 3-5-2, if we're not going to play Spence, if we're not going to use, and we're going to play Sessegnon, a very uncreative wing back, we're just not going to create chances. And Kane and Perisic were actually shadows of themselves, even in comparison to Liverpool. I thought Liverpool, they had a lot more chances than they did against Forest, which is kind of scary to think about.
Yeah,
I think they're just knackered, to be honest with you.
That's also true.
Yeah, I'd just like to shout out. I thought Fraser Forster had a really good game. To be fair, he made a number of really good saves, and it could have been a much bigger score. So kudos for him. And I thought Basuma was fairly decent again.
Yes, actually, he's coming into it. I think now. I think Basuma, he's starting to. Isn't that 2 games in a row? I would say. I thought Liverpool, he was also quality and brilliant. I think it was even the other. David Harris made the joke when you looked at that game. It was when we were kind of looking at who to blame and whatnot. He even said, well, it wasn't Basuma's fault today that we lost because he was brilliant. And I think Basuma is starting to maybe just grow a bit more comfortable into that 3-5-2. I would even give him a chance if we played the 3-4-3 to play alongside Højbjerg or Bentancur and give one of them a rest. Because I think Basuma's looked brilliant. He started to look more like the Basuma that we saw at Brighton. I've been happy to see that and sort of relieved to kind of see that because I was getting very confused by kind of how sort of pedestrian he was looking in games for a bit.
Yeah. DaveO, here's your chance to rant. Some people have said they're not bothered about going out the League Cup. It's a Mickey Mouse Cup and it'll give the players a bit of rest. You know, obviously the next round is straight after the World Cup before the next set of Premier League games. And then you play 3 more games in January if you want to get to the final. And our players are knackered. What's your view on this?
I think our minimal look, the expectation for the season is to pick up a domestic trophy and get back into the Champions League for next year. Okay, when we got to the end of the window, given the excitement about the fact that for novelty we signed players not 10 minutes before the end of August, you know, and the fact we spent some money, my expectation was going as deep as the Champions League that we can, and frankly, with that group that we had, we've made hard work of it. So we should have had that group put to bed and played a second string team against Marseille away. If you're playing against Forest, bottom of the league, who've changed 10 players, and we lose 2-0. I just don't think it's good enough. Now, I'll contradict myself. I wasn't that fussed about the Conference League last season. And if we'd won the League Cup, we'd have qualified for Conference League. But the point is, our expectations for the season would not have finished in the league place for the Conference League. And I really think, I know I'm old and all the rest of it, a day out at Wembley, seeing the team lift a trophy, it's a real bonding experience. It brings the club, the supporters and the players together. It makes such a difference when you win a trophy. What it means to that relationship between the players and the fans have seen it. I know I'm boring and old, but the League Cup I think would have been 4 or 5 games or whatever to get to the final.
Yeah, it's a short journey.
It's a short journey. I think the Cup. I mean, it finishes earlier. I don't think it's February the season of the final, but it's
the 26th of February.
Yeah, so Jose and Pep coming in at City and Chelsea, they underline the importance. Get your first trophy in. It's good for the team and get us over the line. And there's been too many players at that club for too long who never gets us. Bless you. Too many players at that club for too long who just never get us over the line. So I'm really disappointed and annoyed. It's a cup we could have won. So it's very disappointing. We're now left with the FA Cup as a realistic chance for a trophy this season. Let's be honest. And who knows how that's going to go. So we could end up with another season where we haven't won anything. And I'm sick and tired of that Twitter account thing that the clock keeps ticking since 2008. Ran over.
Not even on Twitter.
Huh? No,
You're not even on Twitter.
I'm a Twitter voyeur.
Okay. Derek, what's your view on this? Should a club like Spurs be going for this cup, or do they have to accept the limitations of the squad and number of fixtures we have?
I mean, because I guess you guys place such an emphasis on getting in the top 4 above everything, do you really want the distraction that a cup run can bring? Particularly near, not so much a League Cup because it's early on in the season, but come the end of the season in the FA Cup, quarters, semis, what have you. And, there's been times in the past where Tottenham have just failed to get into the top four because, you know, they've been distracted by something else. Maybe not necessarily a cup run, but, you know, you've got the players that are good enough to finish in the top four. And so, you know, I guess from the outside looking in, you'd be like, well, finishing the top four, great. If you can, you know, put a bit of pressure on Man City, Arsenal at some point, you know, there's a chance you can think maybe, just maybe. But yeah, you know, and then use the cup for the fringe players to try and impact, you know, try and push the, I guess, the first choice players that little bit harder, you know, because, you know, if you finish fifth, you're going to get upset because, you know, you've set a bar where, hang on, we got to the final only 3 years ago. You know, we regularly get, you know, we've regularly done quite well in the Champions League. So, you know, first things first, make sure you get in the top four, and then, you know, anything else is a bonus, and just treat it as a bonus. Yeah, of course, whenever you lose, it's disappointing, and losing in the manner that you probably did on Wednesday and to who you lost, it feels like, oh, hang on, it's only Forest. But, you know, I'm sure if you would rather have won tomorrow or win tomorrow, or would you have preferred to have won on Sunday than on Wednesday, I'm sure you'd have chosen Sunday, you know, and beat Liverpool, or at least get a draw against Liverpool, rather than, hang on, one of our rivals, they've taken 3 points from us, and now we've got to try and make that back up at some point in the season. You know, yeah, you're ahead of them at the moment, but, you know, you don't want to think back in a few months, oh yeah, that loss against Liverpool, that gave them momentum to start putting pressure on you guys, because, you know, there'll be Man U as well there. You know, Chelsea will be there or thereabouts, and probably Newcastle. So, you know, would you want the extra distraction of a cup run that might impact on where you might finish in the league? So it could, you know, it's almost like, be careful what you wish for at times. A big club, yeah, you want to be in everything come April, you know, oh yeah, we got a chance at X, Y, and Z. But, you know, I think you'd be more disappointed if you weren't in the Champions League next season than, you know, yeah, we got to a cup final or what have you. Because, you know, yeah, you know, DaveO's right about the connection between the fans and the team and the club. If you get to a final a day out, the experience of that. But then, you know, that, you know, can certainly sour, you know, if 6 months later you're struggling in the league, or you're not in European competition and you're watching other teams playing Tuesday, Wednesdays.
Our trophy is getting top four. We won't get players to sign for us because we've won the League Cup. Winning the Cup won't earn us £50 million. Top four every year is a trophy is just a bonus. It's a fairly valid point, Dean, but I also get where Dave's come from. It's a tricky one. Now, Jack, you won't get this analogy. I'll just come back to you, but Dave and Derek, I expect you. What was Jim Bowen's famous catchphrase at the end of the show?
You don't
Here's
get
what you're
missing.
It's something to do with bully, isn't it?
Here's what you would have won, yeah? Well, here you go. Here's the draw. And this is what makes it frustrating. When you look
Is that for
at
Who
the
Wants to
draw-
Be a Millionaire? Is that for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? No, never mind.
No, it's a darts program back in the 80s, Jack, way before you were born and stuff. Man City have drawn Liverpool, so another big team's going to go out. If you look at it, all the rest of them, the Premier League teams, maybe Blackburn could beat Forest, but you'd expect Wolves, Southampton, Newcastle, City, United, Leicester, and Brighton to probably progress there.
Yeah.
And that's the frustration, is that the next round, you know, Blackburn would have been a tough game. Blackburn away. You know, they knocked West Ham out. But even for Wolves have got Gillingham at home. I mean, Leeds would have loved that, wouldn't they, Dale?
yeah, we would have. But, you know, because of our situation, you know, an extra game, I'm not sure. You know, we've got enough problems where we are in the table without the added distraction of something like that being a problem further on. down in the season. But yeah, I can see what you mean about the draw and what it means. But I guess the fact that Man City or Liverpool, one of them is going, and you're thinking, oh, that's one less obstacle to worry about. But I guess that's what happens in cup competitions.
And the allure of the Conference League. The allure of the Conference League, everybody.
Absolutely.
No one cares about that.
This was always a very valid point. 2 guys from Birmingham. Here's a speedboat. Brilliant. Anyway, so
I thought it was a
I'll send you a
caravan.
link for Bullseye, Jack, later
I
on.
always thought the prize was the caravan.
No, sometimes it was a speedboat, and it was 2 blokes from Coventry or somewhere like nowhere near any water.
80s
You're right for me.
television.
I only live 5 minutes from the beach. That'd be great.
Fair enough.
Shall we move on?
We should.
What's next? Actually, Bentancur came at half time, and I thought he did all right, Jack. What did you think?
Bentancur, I feel like it was necessary to probably sort of start Højbjerg and Bentancur sort of separately. I maybe would have started with Bentancur to begin with, maybe just because I think he's been playing slightly better than Højbjerg of more recent. It felt like Højbjerg started off the season as the strongest of the midfielders, and now Bentancur has sort of kind of taken that in stride and has now sort of replaced him as maybe one of the best midfielders in the squad now, at least in terms of form. I made sense considering they're probably both absolutely knackered and they won't admit it, but let's be honest, I think they probably did have to start separately. Bentancur I thought was better than Højbjerg since he's come on, or when he came on, and I don't know, it's hard for me to really analyze these games because this is an elephant in the room. That was for me the worst performance of the squad this whole season. That was worse than even the North London Derby performance. I genuinely thought we had played better than that. I had thought we had played better even against Man United, and even against Man United, I thought Man United, I mean, it's really that bad, Dave, because Man United, we didn't even get on the bus, let alone get off the bus. We didn't even get on the bus in the first place, and I really thought Forest was that dreadful of performance. We just didn't do anything. You looked at the stats as well. We just didn't deserve really anything from that game. I just thought it was one of the most dreadful first halves as well. Of all the dreadful first halves we had to look at, I simply don't remember really much of anything until Kulusevski, Richarlison, and Hill all came on, and maybe a Bentancur, but I don't know. It just felt like that first half and up until the 60th minute, until we had made substitutions, was the most forgetful 60 minutes of football we've played this season, I really have to admit. And so Bentancur, all the subs we made a terrific impact, but I really must be honest, for me, it was as boring, if not worse, than Man United for me. I could see why Man United could have been worse for people, but I just genuinely feel like we just did less than nothing until about 63 minutes. And then once we got to 63 minutes, we started to maybe come into the game a bit more, but really was for me the most dreadful performance in terms of any sort of impact from really any player, let's be honest. Even Jed Spence made probably the most impact. Perhaps Kulusevski made a lot of impact, but we're really scraping the barrel here. I really thought this was one of the worst ones of all.
Okay, well, I'm going to stick the Bentancur. I'm going to try and get on this line just because HG sent us a lovely picture. Apparently, Bentancur is a big fan of cheese. Did you know this?
I'd be more of a fan of meat since he's from Uruguay. Isn't Uruguay a big steak culture? I think it's a huge steak and meat culture in Uruguay. But if he fancies a bit of cheese as well, quite surprised how skinny he is.
I mean, this is not called the steak room, is it? It's definitely the cheese room, so we'll go with that. Anyway, let's move on to tomorrow's game on my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, DaveO. It's my birthday where you are, isn't it now?
Did you get my card?
No. In the post somewhere, carrier pigeon.
Correct.
Leeds coming to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and I will be there, but Caller's bailed on me.
No.
Steve Diver's gone to Mexico.
No.
Everyone's just disappearing. Anyway, so here's Derek. Let's talk about Leeds away form. The one win you had was at Anfield against a team that just beat us. How did you win at Anfield?
Still trying to work it out. I mean, to be honest, we probably should have lost 4-5-1. The number of good chances Liverpool had and didn't really take. On another day we could have been hammered. We were expected to get hammered, but somehow hung in there. Rode our luck, and we really did have to ride our luck because Salah, Firmino, they missed chances that you wouldn't normally expect them to miss. Nunes, they had several good chances that on another day you've seen them put away. And and then, I think we've seemed to have worked on a tactic that after 60 minutes, start bringing on some subs, bringing on the youngsters, a bit of fresh legs. And it worked. It's worked 2 weeks running. First of all, at Liverpool, when we got the winner, it was such an almighty shock that, I got told to calm down when the winner went in because it was so unexpected. And then, we almost repeated it last week when, we, struggling in the first 60 minutes. We brought on, made some substitutions, brought on some youngsters, younger legs, and again pulled another rabbit out the hat. And you think, well, wow, how many hats, how many rabbits? I'm not sure there's going to be 3 on the trot as far as Premier League games are concerned, because generally away, the way we play away from home hasn't been that encouraging either. You've got the graphic up about the last 5 games, but even from the start of the season, we were pretty poor at Brighton. We weren't that great at Southampton. So there is a pattern there that, we could be in. We could be in for a bit of bother tomorrow. But then you guys suggest that you're struggling as well. But
so, Dale, how are you going to set up, and what are we going to see the pressing we used to see under Bielsa, or is Marsh set up differently?
It is quite similar. It's not man for man like it was under Bielsa. So again, remember last season when I said to you, that the most effective player that you'd probably have against us at Ellen Road would have been Dyer, and it pretty much. I guess he was one of the stronger players, but also Song, and Kane. They just, whoever was marking them, they had their way with them, and tore us to shreds. It's a bit more subdued. It's not such a high press. It still is a press. I think the fact that some of the players are a bit more energetic, so they can get it doesn't have to be man to man, but it's good. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit more restrained, but it's not as exciting to watch from our point of view. But it's a shame that the results aren't as strong as they were 2 years ago either.
When did you start following Leeds?
1970, May the 6th, 1972. Sorry.
More exact now. So who's been your favourite ever Leeds player over the years?
Wow. I would say, first of all, probably one of the guys from that Leeds team from the early 70s, probably Alan Clark. Then probably Tony Curry. From the early 90s when we won the league, Strachan, McAllister, Batty Speed, they were brilliant, all 4 of them. I don't think up until that point, I don't think I'd seen a midfield as good as that until probably the Man U midfield from the late 90s. And then, the team from 20 years ago, I did used to like Harry Kewell until he let us down, shall we say. Radaby, even Ferdinand, he was good when he was there. But the current crop, I do like Greenwood. I do like Gilhart. Whether he'll start tomorrow. But
last season, didn't he? He played.
Sorry,
Gelhardt played up front last season at Tottenham.
Yeah,
caused a few problems, I seem to remember.
Yeah, he didn't get enough game time. I thought, for some reason they kept persisting with Rodrigo when he wasn't really in form, and this guy had a bit of energy about him, and pretty much saved our season with the equal, the assist he set up against Brighton. Because if we hadn't drawn at Brighton, I think we would probably have gone down. Needing to win at Brentford, I don't think it would have happened. Yes, we won, but pressure does a funny thing. Needing a result as opposed to needing a win. But he won't be starting tomorrow, which is no bad thing if he can come on and maybe play as effectively and as well as he did against you guys last year. Because I thought he was okay. I really did.
Now this is interesting because this happened just after the game last season, didn't it? And you did say you thought he was going to go, Derek.
Yeah. I mean, funny enough, we seem to play Tottenham at times of the year which aren't really helpful for us. Last year, Conte's
That's
first
the first
game.
for Tottenham fans because it's the other way around. Because usually we're Dr. Tottenham.
Conte's first game, would he have an effect? And he did. He did the second half. The first half we were on top, but then half time he made some effective changes and you got a result. And then last season when you played us at Ellen Road, it was on the back of having just lost at Burnley. Yeah. And there seems to be a parallel. Hang on, you lost at Burnley when you didn't expect to, and there's going to be a reaction. I think there's going to be the same thing from what's happened on Wednesday. There's going to be a reaction, and we're the ones that are going to get. We're the ones that are going to get it.
To be fair, Derek, we've been waiting for reaction for the last 5 games because we seem to go 2-0 down every game. So I wouldn't stress too much. Can I ask you a quick question about Somerville?
Yeah.
Not the guy from the Communards, but the guy who plays left wing.
One of the best names as well in football. Crescencio Somerville. One of the best names to say out loud.
Yeah.
What's about Derek?
He's been in the under 20. He's been in the under 23s for a couple of years, and he seemed to have done well. He seemed to have done well for the under 23, and never really got a fair chance under Bielsa, and even last season. So he's been there or thereabouts. Now, some of the reports seem to suggest that his off-the-field habits have maybe held him back.
Does he do stamp collecting?
But some, they seem to say that he's so talented, but is he truly focused on his football all the time? So that's maybe held him back a little bit. But since he's been given a chance in the last 4 games, he's done pretty. Obviously, 2 winning goals. So people are going to start taking notice of what he can do. He's
given the number 10 as well. Does that show the confidence that the hierarchy have in him or the coaches have in him? He was given the number 10. I think
so. I mean, they're just hoping that he can mature and become as good as they think he can be. Yeah, they're giving him the number 10 from after Rafinha left. So someone somewhere believes in him. He just needs to maybe keep a lid on it and not go off the rails because he thinks, oh yeah, I've scored winning goal in a couple of games, I've made it. We can all think of players that have had that initial impact but have then faded pretty quickly because they couldn't sustain it or forgot what it was that got them there in the first place. But yeah, he is certainly talented. And
so if he fulfills his potential, and Somerville, there's a bid for Somerville from Man United, will you be singing "Don't Leave Me This Way"?
No, not another one going to Man U. I mean, if they go to Man City, well, anywhere else, it seems to be anywhere but Man U. But I think he will. It's nice to think that we could probably keep him for 2-3 years. We've got a good group of youngsters that, if they can all get through to the first team squad and start playing together at the same time, it may show that, the promise that they had in the under 23s, it was worth the investment and the time that they've spent, with them because
And-
there are
yeah.
4 or 5 good players coming through, and there's one that unfortunately got injured pre-season, probably won't play until at least the end of the season, who's just as good as any of the ones that have broken through this year, and that's Frank Gray's grandson.
Blimey.
Yeah,
Came on, didn't he?
Archie
Was it
Gray.
last year or the year before he came on? I think 2 years ago he came on Spurs, didn't he?
He's played a few minutes at the end of last season. Yeah, Archie Gray. He's only 16. But everyone has been talking about him for about a year. That he could be as good as his grandfather or his uncle. Whose uncle was Eddie Gray. But he got injured. Got injured pretty bad pre-season. So we'll have to. It's probably near the end of the season before they'll try and risk him because he's still in 16. So end of season he'll be just 17. So he's got time on his side, but they've got really high hopes for him.
Okay.
So
Crazy
if Man United, Man United do come in for that bid for Somerville, but he turns it down, will he be saying he can never say goodbye? Come on, that's 2 communard songs for the price of one.
Derek, Craig has asked what you think of is it Meslier?
Yeah, Meslier. He's a good shot stopper. I think the problem he's got is distribution isn't that great.
Oh,
Really, because that's what he's
right.
accredited for. That's what he's given credit for, right? Is he's not that bad with his feet.
I know if as a keeper, if you make an error, it usually tends to end up in goals conceded. But he's made some pretty poor choices with his feet at times, where he's trying to be play out and he's tried to be a little bit too cute and put either other players under pressure, or he's given the ball away. I think against Brentford there was an early goal, and we got back into the game sort of thing. But obviously we ended up losing 5-2. But as a shot stopper, he is pretty good. He is. And he's quite young, so I guess you can expect him to make these mistakes and errors, and it's only with experience that he'll pick up. But he's not a bad keeper. His weaknesses. I don't want to say he's as bad as Dracula, but he ain't great on crosses.
Yeah.
No, he is good. He is, as a shot stopper, he's done really well for us at times, and I've got confidence that he'll be there for a few years.
Okay.
I actually think he looks quite. I agree. Actually, when I think about it, I've seen a lot of mistakes from him in terms of moments, but where I think come from, Derek, is that Meslier sort of appears to look good with his feet because he has that first touch that looks a lot more confident than most keepers. He hits the ball with, I think, a lot more technique than most keepers probably do. Yeah. So while you're probably right, actually, he's had a few moments where it's sort of lapse of concentration or whatever. It appears to most people that aren't Leeds fans that he looks more technically, better with the ball at his feet than maybe a Hugo would, let's say, in our case.
Yeah. I mean, funnily enough, I was thinking about that earlier. Lloris, I didn't realize he's not as good with his feet.
He's very clumsy in comparison.
And having seen Chelsea a couple of times this season, I didn't realize Mendy was as poor with his feet as well. And obviously that goal he conceded at Ellen Road sort of highlighted why he's probably, he wouldn't be starting at Chelsea if Potter had his way.
So Mellier's clangers are done with a bit more style, I guess. That's how you would put it. He has more flair to it than the other ones.
Yeah,
the other
usually on Super Sunday.
The other one's just
in front of everyone.
Yeah. There you go. I think he's actually quite good with his feet, personally. John and Dave, I think he looks quite. I don't know. He just looks more technically gifted than most keepers. He looks like the modern keeper, the way that he has the ball at his feet.
Yeah, I think Jack. I think probably the issue is the people he's passing out to aren't as aren't that good at taking the ball under control.
Sure.
If he was playing at
Let's get
We
you
also have
Davinson
that problem.
Sanchez.
We also have that problem.
That's not a problem either.
He'll fit right in.
If he was playing at Man City, and he's pinging the ball out to their fullbacks, he would probably look pretty good. But he's pinging the ball out to Firpo and Ayling, who, bless them, aren't at that level.
Yeah.
So who's going to play? What's your team going to be tomorrow, Derek? Do you think?
Well, Meslier, he'll be in goal. Of course he will. I think the back four will probably be the same that started last week at Bournemouth. So that's Christensen, Cooper, Koch, and Streaker. So we've decided to get rid of. Well, we're not playing Llorente. We're not playing Firpo at the moment, which I think is a blessing. A real blessing. So whoever's playing on the right for you guys has probably got to put in a bit more of a shift than he might otherwise have done. We've got Adams and Rocker, the two holding midfielders. Not very well known, but they are very hard working.
Some of your better players, I would say, Adams and Roca.
Yeah,
Is Adams American, Jack? Is that right?
Adams is American, and Roca came from Bayern Munich. I think both are. I think those were actually. I made a little Leeds video over the summer. I actually thought those were quite smart signings because if you're getting rid of Calvin Phillips, I don't think they could have replaced Calvin Phillips with one player. I don't think there was some magical Calvin Phillips just waiting out there that they could have found. I think they had to use two players to try to make up for that loss, and I thought they did it quite well. They got a good passer of the ball with Mark Roca, and I think Tyler Adams, cleans up and wins the ball back, like how Calvin Phillips does. It's almost like they bought two players to make up for one player.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy from those two, and it is an upgrade on definitely what we had the second half of last season when Phillips was injured and we were relying on Forshaw and another, moving players from this, that, or other. Yeah, and then the three midfielders, Somerville, Arneson, Greenwood. Obviously Greenwood got that goal, second goal for us last week. He played well the end of last season when he started a couple of games. And again, there could be a little bit more energy from those three support, with Adams and Rocker. So if, the Tottenham midfielders are a bit complacent or they don't want to put the hard yards in, they may find it a bit of a struggle tomorrow. And then, Rodrigo up front, who seems to have settled down. He seems to be doing okay.
He's played well for Marsh. He's played well for Marsh, I would say.
Yeah. He's
more
done,
so than Bamford.
He's done really well.
I don't think injured.
No, he's back now. I think he's working his way back into the team, though, isn't he? After the injury. Bamford.
He was, but I think I'm not sure he's fully fit still. He didn't really feature last week. He came on against Liverpool. He'll be on the bench again. He may come on with 20 minutes to go if need be. But I think he's struggling to start the games. He's not.
His first touch is letting him down. That's how I see it. His first touch continues to let him down.
His first touch did let him down against Liverpool, but ended up being the assist for Somerville's goal.
Touche.
Yeah, so 1 minute you're cursing him and you're going, oh, great, oh, well done.
Yeah, it all worked out.
He's normally quite a good leader from the front, but, I don't think he's fit enough to put in the yards that they're expected to. Like you say, with the high pressing game, he has to lead from the front, otherwise it doesn't work. And it probably hasn't worked when he's started this season. So, he'll be on the bench. But that's the 11.
Him and Calvert-Lewin at Everton have been very injury prone. They've had promising first kind of established season. Since then, very injury prone. Have really not got back to it.
Good comparison.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah,
we really missed him last season.
Yeah,
and when he did try and come back, he just wasn't fully, nowhere near fit enough and. for some players that usually can mean career-ending or career-habilitating injuries. So the fact.
What was the injury, Derek?
It was a foot injury. He injured it early on against Burnley away. He twisted his ankle,
Right.
and he was out for about 3 months. Came back against Brentford, and then did his hamstring, and then he came back. I want to say around about March, and then he was injured again. He just wasn't. He came on again. He had to go off against Wolves. The game we won 3-2. I guess when you get a bit older, if all that energy, he's been playing since he was quite young. These little injuries start to have an impact on you when you're a little bit older. I think we're probably getting to that stage where he's going to be more of a squad player rather than a regular starter.
Okay. So Spurs team news. Apparently, Sessegnon is out. Sounds like the injury he picked up at the end of the Forest game is not. He's likely to miss out.
Perisic.
So it'd be Perisic's left wing back. Sarr played the first half of the under-21s game against West Ham this evening. Obviously, he's in the World Cup squad, so he needs some minutes. But because he only played half the game, he could well be on the bench still tomorrow, I guess. But we probably won't see him because we haven't seen him all season, have we? Apart from that, Richie and Kulusevski, Conte's hinting they could both well start tomorrow.
Oh, good.
So, do we think
Is that likely?
Kulusevski is starting tomorrow. I think he's not going to the World Cup. He needs some minutes under his legs to get, because as much as we've been very careful with the injuries so far, we need to actually still give him minutes. So I'd imagine he'll start tomorrow. Richie is an injury, I feel like we could start him, but I don't see the need to. I feel like we could just play Kane for 60 minutes and then just take him off for Richie. That's how I'd ideally do it. And then, of course, because I got to fit it in here, maybe a certain Hill played on the left-hand side in the 3-4-3.
From the start, you mean? Have Hill
ideally from the start, but I doubt we'll get that sort of pleasure, Dave, you and I. Can I just quickly ask, I know we're probably going to transition to some Spurs things. Derek, I know that last season you had the likes of Bielsa's sort of celebrations, which were pretty much pertain to a stool, which he would sit on, and he wouldn't really much leave it unless it probably was a goal that he then would scream at his coach about something that went wrong. Or compared to Jesse Marsch, which you probably saw the second goal celebration where it involved, 3, I think, whirlwinds, to the eventual piss pump.
Yeah.
And then honestly, what is the comparison of vibes of managers? Because like you said, the football is very similar, but the vibes are complete opposite. One is like a professor of history and Bielsa, and the other is let's be honest, Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I think I don't know if there's a perception in this country because he's American, but he doesn't really know what he's supposed to be doing. The fact that,
with his body.
I use the analogy because of Bradley, who was at Swansea, and they did really bad. He did really badly there. So everyone, so since then, anytime an American manager gets mentioned, there's almost that comparison that will they be as bad as Bradley? He's not he's far better than that. He's done well in Germany. So, he has a track record of some success.
And the football's quite similar to a degree.
Yeah, of course. I think the fact he talks a lot more than Bielsa. Obviously, Bielsa, he could hide behind an interpreter, so he didn't need to.
Yeah, no Yank translator. Sadly, I wish I could be his translator, but unfortunately, you guys can't understand him.
He's trying to get a message across that they're going to be a competitive, combative team, and just as energetic as they would, as they were under Bielsa, I think he's an okay manager. I do. I think it's just this comparison because he has an American accent seems to give people a certain negative perception about him before he'd even started. Racing Post back in July, that was an article, first manager who's going to be sacked, and I think he had the shortest odds.
What are you
And I
doing
thought,
reading the Racing Post, Derek? You getting the form guide for Goodwood that afternoon? Come on.
Yeah, Cheltenham, Goodwood, Ascot.
Come on.
Any little tips that will help. But yeah, he was amongst the first managers that to be in the sack race.
And he's outlasted that to a degree.
And,
my question was actually on celebrations. I must say, what a professional answer from yourself. But really, it was just which celebrations do you prefer more? That's what I asked.
You'd like to think that will energize the crowd. Have the crowd feeling more favourable about him, to see that he's wearing his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah,
but yeah,
Leeds fans missed the stool. It sounds like they just missed the stool. They missed the stool. They missed the.
They got a bit upset with him when we were 3-1 down against Bournemouth. People started making noises, negative noises about it. But then, half hour later, 4-3 winners, and he's okay again.
Where's he from in America, Mark? Where's he from in America?
I forget. I actually do know, though. Brendan Aronson is not too far away from me, where he's originally from. He's from Medford, New Jersey. So I'm not kidding, Dave. You could put strong money on him having probably played in Brooklyn once or twice, and I'd imagine some sort of tournament for underage, 12 and under sort of kind of thing.
So Marsh is from New Jersey.
No, Aronson, that creative midfielder, number
he's from
10.
New Jersey.
He's from New Jersey. Marsh, I think, is from like the Midwest. I think he's from.
He was born in Wisconsin.
Yeah, so
Wisconsin.
spot on. He's from the Midwest.
He played for DC United, Chicago Fire, and Chivas.
Good for him.
Okay.
That's what
Aronson is actually not far from me. Aronson's kind of from the sort of New York, New Jersey area. He's from New York.
Are you the same age?
Aronson and I'm not sure how old he is. He might be actually younger than I am.
Okay.
I think I might be 2 or 3 years his senior.
So, question for DaveO and Jack. I'm just going to scroll back.
Mm-hmm.
What are the chances of Spence starting tomorrow?
I think it would have to be the case of Doherty, Emerson, and are in a car together and get stuck in a traffic jam going to the ground, and he decides that Mora's not fit enough, then Spence will start. That will be the chance.
With loads of Spurs fans surrounding the car to make sure they can't move.
That's not bad. Maybe we can get We Are Tottenham TV to organise another demonstration. That'd be good. Anyway, sorry. I move on. I digress. Even look, it's who started on. Doc started, so that means it's the return of the Emerson, the answer to Cafu, the Cafu of Tottenham. He'll be there. Honestly, he's the Noé Pamaro of it all. He's dreadful. He'll start. Whoever's playing on the left-hand side, Derek, for Leeds, they might as well take a newspaper out. They might as well take your Racing Post out on the pitch tomorrow and read that.
I think it needs to be a bit denser because, they'll probably get through it quite quickly if it were the Racing Post, but maybe it's something a bit longer.
If Claudio Ranieri's tactic in his 2-minute reign at Watford last season was giving Emerson the ball for the whole of the second half and he still didn't do anything, what does that tell you?
Well, he cannot cross at all.
He's awful.
He won't take anyone on. He can defend. That's about it.
No, I don't think he can, actually. Look at the last 10 minutes of the Lisbon game away. That was an absolute cluster.
To be fair, the second goal was terrible.
Yeah, so I'd like to look. Common sense would dictate that Spence plays tomorrow. We all know he won't.
Jack?
Yeah, I echo what Dave says in some sense. We all want to see Spence play. We all know Spence should play. Like I said before, I don't really know what much else we're going to learn from Doherty or Emerson for the rest of this. So I think we should just give Spence more of a chance here. I actually feel like what really should be the case here is that Conte should just make a decision, even if he hates Spence, which is clearly the case. I think he should just decide between Emerson and Doherty and then just have Spence rotate between the two. It's very frustrating that we do have to sort of debate between Emerson and Doherty. I'd rather debate between Doherty and Spence or Emerson and Spence. I'd rather that be the rotation. I know it's not ideal for anybody, and I know nobody really feels that great about it, but I sort of feel like it's what Conte probably should do. It's where he's gotten it wrong, if you ask me, just simply is that Spence should be the one rotated between a Doherty or an Emerson. It shouldn't be Doherty or Emerson. It should be, like I said before. And so that's where I get a bit frustrated, but I don't think Spence is going to start. I think we're going to see Emerson in all of his glory, I
thought you were going to run out of oxygen then, Jack. You just kept going.
I actually think I had a mini burp while I spoke. So I think that's what it was. But I actually recovered. Did you see? It was almost like I took a knock, like full stride, you know? Yeah, and then I took it in stride. So it was a weird burp, I think, while I spoke. Yeah.
Just wondering Craig's coming up, because as bad as Emerson is, at some point we as fans, it's not his fault. He's shit necessarily, even though he spent 800 grand on it. I know we're trying to tell Conte to take him off, but I do feel a bit sorry for him that the crowd are getting on his back. Like, they all applauded at Bournemouth by all accounts when he got taken off, which was the right thing to do.
Yeah, but you know,
Conte needs to take him out the firing line.
Yeah, the thing that just struck me about this thought occurred to me the other day, is that last summer we paid 25 million quid to a cash-strapped Barcelona for someone who'd been on loan at Real Betis for the season. Yeah. And then this summer, we go back and we just do a loan deal for Longley. We don't pay him 25 million smackers for it. So the deal done by Paratici, it was an absolute shocker, right? A shocker. So, and I know your mate at 25 million plus Lamella as well. That's 50 million smackers plus Lamella. Paratici's pissed up a wall.
I find it funny that people are sooner to criticize the expenses of Paratici than they are Steve Hitchen.
Well, everyone. Oh, hello. I've just been usurped by an Alistair.
It seems like Paratici has received more criticism in his short time period. In his short time period at the club, I've seen more criticism of Paratici than I ever have of Hitchen, the man that pretty much were responsible. The man who's responsible for all the players that we're trying to get rid of at this moment in time.
The thing is, supposedly, Levy was taking a step back and letting Paratici get on with it. I think that's part of the reason. But Hitchen got a lot of grief. He did get a lot of public grief.
That I'm
the interesting thing is, we brought in Steinsson, the Icelandic former Bolton player, haven't we? He has his number 2 now. So it'll be interesting to see if January goes any better. If we've got any money to spend, we don't know. But I'm just going to bring up Alistair Gold's tweets with Conte's quotes from the press conference today, talking about meeting Paratici and Levy during the upcoming break. Until now, we haven't spoken. After the first part of the season, it's right to have a meeting and discuss the positive and negative things of what we can improve. For sure, we will speak and have a good evaluation about where we are in the first half of the season. I've seen a lot of positive things, but with injuries in so many games, we've struggled a lot. We have to improve in the future. So what does that mean? We just need to improve the squad?
I think that it's a really important feature of any press conference that Conte always talks about having a meeting with Paratici and Levy. They're always having a meeting. They're talking about having a meeting. They're going to meet up and discuss. There's a pre-meeting meeting. And that's what I like. Are you ready for the next slide? Do
you want to see the next slide?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay. So every time we speak, we always speak together. Go figure.
That's good. That's a good start.
They are always good conversations. The target is only one: to improve on and off the pitch, and then find the best solution in every moment. Until now, we've worked with only this target to improve and find a good way to bring the club forward. Is that the Dave Dome, do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I think, but what Conte really wants to know is, when is Adele announcing the 5 nights at the Tottenham Stadium? Because he wants to go there. You know, his daughter's a big fan of Adele, and the missus as well. Bring him over from Italy. They can have a lovely night out and hopefully stay at the Tottenham Travel Lodge that Levy's currently building. And maybe go see the cinema after. It's all
15% discount if you're a manager.
No doubt. No, Levy will invoice him for the tickets to Adele off his salary. You know it. He'll get his pay slip and go, "What, Adele? What?" That's what's going to happen there. And
he's on 15 million. He can afford it.
Yeah, true. Look, I actually want to go back to a point that you were making about Hitchen. So I think there was a massive pile-on Hitchin when he infamously said in all or
I
not
wish I
much
was there
rig.
for it. I really do.
Well,
Wish I
yeah,
was
but
here
when
sooner.
he said that January was my least favourite time of the year, what a silly
Yeah.
thing to say.
Mean
So he
doing
got-
his job.
That's right. And so he got a massive pile on there on Twitter, although I'm not on Twitter. And you know, he was involved in, you know, with Poch, I don't doubt that Poch wanted Lo Celso, and I don't doubt that Poch wanted Ndombele, and apparently Poch wanted Sessegnon as well. So I don't think it's all cut and dry that Hitchin's the villain. I mean, Levy's very good at throwing people under the bus. It's very convenient.
I don't think Levy threw Hitchin under the bus. I think, in fact, Hitchin threw himself under the bus.
Yeah, but you know, if you're telling me Levy didn't get a chance to look at that documentary before it went out, I think that's being a bit naive.
But I mean, Levy signs the checks for both directors of football, and also Hitchin, when in charge here, was in charge of all of those departments that Paratici has made a million hirings for, which also sort of speaks to Hitchin's naivete, and that he sort of thought he could somehow just like be responsible head of every single department for the club. I'll be head of recruitment, I'll be head of recruiting players, I'll be head of youth, I'll be head of all that. It was a bit absurd and almost a bit naive of Hitchin to take that all on board. Another thing as well, the players that we all love at this football club, who are basically the best players since Kane and Son have been here, all Paratici signings compared to Hitchin signings. And all the signings that we've gotten rid of have been Hitchin signings.
Well,
A certain Bentancur, a certain Kulusevski, let's say, as a good example. Romero as well.
I
don't know. I don't remember Hitchin signing those guys.
No, I mean, allegedly, Ndombele and Lo Celso were players that Poch wanted. Hitchin supposedly had Bruno signed up, but ready to sign.
I just think the excuses given for Hitchin, I wish were given to Paratici, but they're not. And so that's why I think if we're going to judge them, then let's judge them by the same comb or the same, ruler.
We think this is true. Levy either spent in January or Conte walks.
What about if we swap that sentence around? Conte spends in January and Levy walks. Can we do that? Is that possible?
Conte going to buy the club?
Conte gets those Adele tickets for the family and the cinema, or Levy goes. Could we see that? That'd be more interesting. Levy either spends in January or Conte walks. That's exactly the same comment from last year. Replace January with August, replace January with January. It's just, I just think that, the January transfer window, which is, we got Bentancur and Kulusevski in the last week of January, because Juventus needed the money because they just bought Vlahovic, right? So I don't think that's kind of extensive scouting done by Paratici on that one. So we got them in. They're great. We love them. All good. It would have been great if we got them in the first week of January. This January market's going to be different, because if certain players the clubs are thinking about putting on the market and they see someone who's in the position that club gets stretched off at the World Cup, they're not going to sell them. Do you really want to get? And also, do we want to buy a player that goes deep into a World Cup? I don't want to. And post the World, everyone's saying post the World Cup, things will be different. We'll play with the shackles off and things like that. We're in the Champions League and the compressed timetable. We'll still be playing every 3 days again. I don't see how anything's going to be any different. Sorry.
We'll have 6 players back from injury.
You're right. We got Romero, who'll be at the World Cup. You'll have Richarlison, who'll be at the World Cup. So
but we'll have 6 players back from injury. That will be a difference.
But you've got in that Romero and Richarlison, though, haven't you?
But they'll be back from injury. You're not answering the question.
They might not be.
They might not be, because they might get injured.
But they're not available. Even if they're coming back from a World Cup, we physically can't pick them right now, which is already better than what we have right now. That's what I mean to say. Even if they're tired, I'd rather pick a tired Romero than not be able to pick Romero. Or not be able to pick Richarlison, or not be able to pick Kulusevski.
Okay, so you're saying you'd rather pick a tired Romero than
I'd rather have them available. We haven't had them available. Sanchez. That's the difference, is that they're now going to be available come the end of the World Cup.
Okay, so I'll take you back to 2018, which was a World Cup in the summer, right? We had 13 players involved in the semi-finals, either on the bench or playing, granted, right? We didn't buy anyone in that window, and that the season, we didn't win the away game after January. We crawled. Champions League was great, and we crawled into 4th place. The second half of that season was diabolical, right? So that was a summer World Cup, but they had a rest beforehand and 3 weeks after it. We don't have this time. So we've got all these players going off. Premier League's been ridiculous. I didn't appreciate till a couple of weeks ago that we're going straight into the Boxing Day New Year session, which is ridiculous. And you've got and the Germans aren't starting until the middle or late January because they're having their break as usual. So in that context, we're going to get all these players back. Kane is knackered already.
He'll be
Perisic
knocked home early, don't worry.
by the US.
whichever of the former colonies, decide to knock him out.
I'm not sure that Iran was ever a former colony of England,
some would
but
say different.
I'm happy to be contradicted on that point. And as for Wales, I'm not allowed. I'm banned from talking about Wales on the cheese room. I know, John.
Ben Davies is going to score the winner when Pickford kicks the ball against his backside, and it'll just get loop in.
Right. Okay. Well, Wales have only got 1.5 games at the World Cup anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I think I appreciate your point,
They
Dave,
play
but
three.
the whole
Whether
league
they
thing is
lose them is
that
another matter.
we haven't had these players for a month and a half. That's what I'm trying to say here, though. We haven't had any of these players that for a month and a half. Like, we physically haven't been able to pick them. So I think that will be slightly better, is my argument. That will be
as long as they don't get injured again. Because that is possible with the number of games we
if
still
they
have.
all get injured again, that would be miraculous.
As I'm saying, post 2018, and dare I say, post Italia 90, where Gaza picked up injuries and Lineker was knackered in the season, coming back from that traditional summer World Cup, and we didn't buy any players 2018, the form fell off the cliff. And now we're in this compressed time zone. I think it's going to be a challenging second half to the season. You've got Newcastle up there. Salah's not going to the World Cup. And Newcastle don't have European football. So it's a real fight for top four, and I'm worried
definitely
about
wouldn't
it.
deny that. Definitely none of that stuff I deny. I just think we just 6 players that just are injured that we just can't pick. If we even had 3 of them back, let's say 3 of them are injured in the World Cup, that's still better than what we have right now. I think it's sort of
I think on football365.com we're in 4th or 5th in the Premier League table of the most players that will be at a World Cup.
Yeah, and we also have players that are the most important players in their respective sides, and all these I agree with. It's just I'm looking forward to just having 2 of them back. I'll take it down to 2 now, 2 out of 6. I'm looking forward to having 2 out of 6 back, and I think that will be so much better than what we have right now at this moment in time.
Question for you. Obviously, it's been reported that most clubs are going to have a week or 2 weeks where the players that aren't going to the World Cup will just have some time off, go to the beach or whatever. Conte's going to have 3-4 weeks with the players that aren't going. Now, most of those are players that have been nowhere near the team.
Mm-hmm.
Do we hope that pre-season that we're having will actually get some of them up to standard that we might see a bit more of them in January?
Well, I think Emerson's going to be in a Christmas pantomime this season as the comedy cow. So I think that with that kind of training, he'll be fine. And then Davinson, Colombia didn't make it, did they?
No, they did not.
Davinson Sanchez will be refreshed and raring to go.
It seems like the more refreshed he is, the worse he's gotten.
Anyway, 42 million. That's on Poch.
Yeah.
Oh. Anyway,
another Hitchin signing that you refuse to criticize.
No.
Don't worry.
Sanchez is rubbish. I do criticise that. Come on.
So Leeds are in 12th place on 15 points.
Emerson.
We're on 26, so there's a nice 11-point gap. This just shows the gap between us.
Yeah.
Here you go. This is since Leeds came back to the Premier League, we've won 3. They won the 3-1 game up at Elland Road in, I think, February 21.
Oh, yeah.
So I think, shall we do predictions on this game? I will start with DaveO.
Boring, awful first half, good second half, 2-1.
Myself, sorry. I think it could be basketball game, 2 awful defenses going at it, 2 defenses that neither side rate. I'm pretty sure Derek doesn't have much confidence in his back line, and we probably have less confidence in ours. I think we probably have even less confidence. The 2 worst defenses in the Premier League going at it. I'm going to say 3-2 Spurs. I'm going to say 3-2 Spurs. It could be more. It's going to be Jesse Marsh is going to turn it into a basketball game.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, John. Yeah. I think, God blimey, I think we will probably struggle again in the first half. You'll probably get off to a
It's going to be an horrendous first half. Should we just go for a drink, get into the second half?
yeah. Jacko saying it 3-2. I could see it being 3-2, but unfortunately, we'll probably be 3-0 down. You'll take off all the players that are going to be quite important at the World Cup.
Believe me, we could also be 3-0 down.
And then, we'll get 2 late goals and the scoreline will look closer than the game actually was. But yeah, I don't think we're going to get anything from this game, particularly after the 2 defeats you've had in the week. It would be almost a bit like last season. We're playing you at the wrong time again.
No, you're not. We're playing rubbish at the moment.
Well, we are playing rubbish. I was thinking about this beforehand, and I decided. Interesting, you've said for that, Jack. I decided we'll go 2-0 down, and we'll come back and win it 3-2 second half, right on, just to celebrate
glorious.
my birthday.
That sounds glorious. And a happy birthday to you, John, for that. That's exactly what you needed as a Spurs fan, to go 2-0 down only to come back.
Interestingly, had a quick look earlier at the ticket exchange, and you can only see the block. I can't show you a picture of each individual block, but this is the overall. There are a lot of tickets on that ticket exchange today. Not a lot of people want to go to this game from the looks of it.
Funny that.
So if you want a ticket for tomorrow and you've got a CRN number, you can pick up a season ticket for tomorrow quite easily.
That is quite a damning indictment. That's the last game for what, 4 to 6 weeks. That's not good.
Yeah, well, it's our last game at home until New Year's Day. It was 7 weeks.
Who we got on
Villa
New Year's Day?
Villa.
All right. There you go.
So, yeah. Right. Shall we do our weekly predictions? DaveO's favourite part of the show.
It sure
Here we
is.
go.
So we'll say one game and go round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And join in the chat. So we will start off with Man City, Brentford, DaveO.
4-1 City, Haaland hat-trick. Captain Fantasy League.
Eric.
I was going to go 5-0, to be honest. And DaveO's right about Haaland. He'll be starting, and he's going to. Yeah, if you're not got him as your captain, you're going to lose out.
It's logged onto my phone here, Jack.
I might go 2-0 City. I actually don't think it'll be as convincing.
No. Okay, I'm going to go 4-1, and Ivan Toney is going to score a goal to make a point. Maybe he'll score 2. No, 1. Okay, Bournemouth, Everton. I'm going to go 2-0 Bournemouth. Dave.
I'm going to go 2-1 Bournemouth, and Lampard in his post-match interview will talk about the state of the club when he took over and the progress they're making now.
Spot on.
Derek?
I think that'll be 1-1. Yeah, I just got a feeling Everton will just, they'll keep it tight and they'll sneak a goal, and Bournemouth aren't that convincing, defending. So yeah, bit of a 1-1.
Jack?
Glad to see this isn't on TV for you guys. Probably not fit for consumption. I'm going to go 2-1 Bournemouth, and I'm going to see maybe some pressure on the Fat Frank.
Nah.
2-1. Because I feel like Gary O'Neill, he's gotten so unlucky. I feel bad for the guy. So either he just keeps losing from a 2-0 position, or maybe he actually goes 2-0 up this time and actually holds it for once. Because I feel bad for the guy. He's gone 2-0 up a few times and has continued.
Bournemouth are going down. They're done.
Let's talk about Bournemouth quickly, Derek, because there's rumours tonight that Bielsa is on their wanted list. What's your thoughts on Bielsa going there?
I'd be gutted. He did have to leave. I mean, the results were so bad near the end. Not just losing 4-0 to you guys, but losing 6-0 Liverpool, 7-0 Man City. And you just thought, well, yeah, I'd rather he didn't come back and manage another Premier League side. But you know, if he does, you know, Bournemouth will do it. You know, he will probably get the, you know, he will probably galvanise that club. You know, so yeah, if he goes, I wish him well. You know, I can't forget what he did for Leeds. But you know, just be gutting that he may come back to Ellen Road as the manager of another side. But good luck to him.
Next, we have Nottingham Forest Palace. I'm going to go 2-1 Forest. Jack.
1-3 or 3-1 Palace. Just don't rate Forest. I think Steve Cooper could get smacked by Eze and Zaha and those guys. I think that defense is due, you know, a good mixing. So I'm going to go 3-1 Palace.
2-1 Palace, and I hope Zaha gets 2. I've got him in my fantasy team.
Derek?
Yeah, I've got 2-1 Palace as well. And again, I'm hoping Eze and Zaha will do the business from a points point of view.
Eze is one of secretly my favorite players in the Premier League. Secretly one of my favorite.
Well, you just told us, so it can't be much of a secret.
Yeah, not really, I guess. Right, you are there, DaveO. Hill Messi, less of a secret, of course.
I mean, we might get 1,000 views on this, so it's really not much of a secret at all, Jack. Can I'll just give you a bit of advice? If you've got any other secrets, possibly don't say it on here. Okay.
Well, you know, Jack, maybe say it on your watch along tomorrow. There'll only be about 5 people watching at a time.
I should just make that as like an opener. Here's the secret, guys, and just make everything just public.
Yeah.
Here's Jack's secret of the week.
Yeah, it'd be really enticing. Keep the viewers engaged. It's a good trick there.
Yeah.
Dave, thank you.
I'll make it a slide for next week. Okay. West Ham versus Leicester. I'm just doing my Patreon predictor now, Dave. I don't know if you've done yours.
I have done mine. Don't copy me. I'm rubbish.
I put 2-1 to Leicester. 2-1 to Spurs. Sorry, 2-1 to West Ham. Sorry, I have time. 2-1 to West Ham. Dave.
I don't know. Actually, Leicester come in a bit of form, haven't they?
They are.
And I hate West Ham. 2-1 Leicester.
Darren.
I've gone 2-1 West Ham. I think the fact that Justin's out for the season, I think it's going to have an impact on Leicester's defence again. They were starting to pick up a lot of points with a settled back four. I think it's going to have an impact on them. So yeah, 2-1 West Ham.
Brendan Rodgers has turned that defense around. So I am going 2-0 win to Leicester City. Weirdly, all of a sudden, that defense has looked rock solid. West Ham, they're more afraid of the opposition goal. And honestly, the side of, I don't know, they just hate going near the opposition's goal. They're more negative than us, which is somehow possible. So I'm going to say 2-0 Leicester City. And also that's just because I looked at the results. Looks like they've been keeping clean sheets by the looks of things. So
I did notice Johnny Evans is back now. And I think obviously his experience is quite
and Wout Face, which is another fun name to say alongside Crescencio Somerville, is doing quite well by the looks of things. The new David Luiz of the Premier League.
Yeah, new David Luiz indeed. Where we at? Oh, Wolves against Arsenal.
Right to Newcastle, Chelsea.
Oh, sorry, Newcastle, Chelsea. I'm going to go 2-0. Although, is Callum Wilson out? I've heard a rumour he's injured, even though he's in the World Cup squad.
He probably is.
Is he ill, is he?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2-1 Newcastle, and Almiron will score again. Dave?
I'm going to go 2-0 Newcastle.
Yeah, I've got 2-0 Newcastle as well. Yeah, they're pretty solid at home.
I think they're going to be so behind this St. James's Park. This is probably one of the biggest games of the season for them. So 2-0. I'm going to go 2-0 as well.
Wolves, Arsenal. I can't see Wolves winning this. 3-1 Arsenal, I'll go.
Is Lopetegui in yet, or are they waiting till after this game?
I think he starts afterwards, doesn't he?
Yeah, he starts afterwards.
Starts Monday.
Yeah. That's handy. Very handy. I think the Goons will win it 3-0.
Oh?
Yeah, I've got 3-0 as well.
There you go.
We're
You two
spookily
just need a room,
sharing
don't
each
you?
other's.
We're aligned.
Jack?
Wolves hate scoring. 1-0 own goal from Saliba.
Oh, if only. That would be funny, wouldn't it?
No. Nobody scores. No
Right.
cake.
Brighton Villa. I'll start with you, Jack, actually. You take Brighton Villa first of all.
I must say, I love secret player. Another secret of mine, McAllister. I absolutely love McAllister. I think he's actually, if we didn't get James Maddison, I think a cheap version of a James Maddison for us could be like a McAllister. I think we should take a look at that kid.
Can he create?
Absolutely, I think he can. If you watch Brighton, Brighton are so good at creating chances that no one finishes. What do you mean?
There you go.
I would say 3. I would say actually Unai Emery, no longer Stevie G. I have to change my prediction here. 2-2.
Oh.
Desmond.
Dan, Derek, how far away are you from the Amex?
Only a couple of miles.
Oh.
About 3 miles. So whenever I do go to the Amex, use the park and ride. They're doing really well this season, as Jack said. Playing some good football, even despite Potter going as well. If they had a real clinical finisher, they'd probably be doing even better. And they're lucky that their midfield players are scoring a lot of goals to, I guess, help ease that burden. But I still think they'll win 2-0.
Right.
Do you think, Derek, with your celebrity status from the cheese room, you've been on there 3 times, that the next time you're going to do that park and ride, the general public are just they're going to want selfies and all the rest of it. You got to think about your personal life here, okay? I reckon 2-1 Villa.
Ooh.
2-1 Villa. Okay, interesting. I just noticed. I presume we're talking about McAllister. Oh, Cantab's talked about McAllister picked for Argentina. Has he got the Celso spot? Maybe.
Yeah, that would make sense. I would imagine.
Yeah.
He would take Lo Celso. That would make sense.
Yeah. But I was speaking to someone at work today, and he was saying how much he likes McAllister. He's a man.
I love him. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah. But also Trossard's out of contract at the end of the season. I read today.
Wow.
On Twitter.
That's a mistake by them. That's a mistake by them. If he were to go on a free, that would be a huge loss for them.
And Brighton don't make many mistakes. They're quite a switched on board. And obviously their chief exec is a former Spurs employee, Paul Barber.
So you said 2023. It's out in 2023, his contract.
That's what I read on Twitter earlier. I'll send you the
Interesting.
tweet
So
later.
I mean, that'd be weird if he were to go on a free, because like you said, Brighton usually know what they're doing, and I think that'd be a huge loss for them. And we're not like Tottenham, but they need that sort of money compared to a club like Tottenham. They need that money.
They had Ashworth, didn't they, as their director, but he's gone to Newcastle and he was on gardening leave for quite a while. So maybe that's where that slipped through the cracks.
Maybe.
Slipped through the soil.
It's just like, that's a real financial loss for them. I know it is. Yeah. They should benefit from that. They should have got 50 million from
Hold on, that must be wrong because I've just found an article from August where Graham Potter's quoted as saying his Brighton contract done by next summer. So that tweet was incorrect. So there you go. That makes more sense. Fulham, Manchester
I would say
United.
quickly about Brighton. Last thing about Brighton, Pascal Gross has the most furrowed eyebrows, I think, in the Premier League. That's what I can say.
That's good to know. I didn't give my prediction.
You're very interested in Brighton, aren't you, Jack?
I enjoy Brighton. I think I like De Zerbi. I'm a fan of Shakhtar coaches. You can probably tell that my love of Hill Messi is connected to Shakhtar Donetsk. De Zerbi is a former Shakhtar coach. So,
have you actually ever been to Brighton, Jack?
No, I haven't, and I don't think I ever will.
You should go. It's a fantastic place.
I actually, one of my favorite episodes of Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares is that Brighton episode. The other Yank. There's that Yank that's over in Little Mama's Kitchen or whatever it was called.
Yeah, the chicken wing
that
shop.
Episode.
It was the chicken wing shop, the fried chicken shop. Yeah, I like that one as well. You get, Jack, I'm telling you, get yourself down to Brighton. It's a great place. You have a cracking weekend down there. Seriously.
I'll visit that place. I'll visit that restaurant. Say hello to Little Mama.
You should.
In other news, my wife's might miss out. The Brighton Marathon might be off. Apparently, the company's going bust.
Yes. I saw something in the local paper. Yeah, I don't know.
Not looking
I've
good.
only
They
seen
haven't
the
played last
headlines,
year's
but
winners.
it'll be a shame. It's one of the
Yeah.
events that people sort of circle in during the year, as with the Brighton to London bike ride.
It's not that hard to organise a marathon, isn't it? Just draw a number, stick it on the front of your shirt, put some flags out, run 26 miles, and you're done.
You say
Not
that,
hard.
they cocked it up 2 years ago. They made it half a mile too long. Someone put a
Yeah,
cone in the wrong place, literally.
That was Emerson Royale. He did that.
It was
John, you were
800
right
grand he
about
plays that.
Trossard, by the way. It says his contract expires in 2023, but there's an option to extend. I would maybe imagine that the club has the option to extend, and then maybe they would sell him then.
Yeah, I imagine they have to do that quite soon before, otherwise he'll be able to
So you
negotiate
were
in
right.
January,
Your
won't he?
research was spot on.
Okay, cool.
Well done.
And for did I give my score for Brighton? I'm
No,
going
you
to go 2-1
didn't.
Brighton. 2-1 Brighton.
Okay.
Okay. And finally, Fulham United. I've just seen for my fantasy team, because I just checked on it, that Mitrovic is out apparently. So I'm going to go 3-1 United. Dave.
Does that mean Carlos Vinicius would be starting for Fulham?
He did the last game, didn't he?
That's definitely 2-1
He-
United.
He was the one that got the he got Cancelo sent off, didn't he? For that push that was weaker than the one that was done on Session, which we
Right,
didn't
okay.
get a penalty for.
There you go.
Derek?
Yeah, it's 2-1 United.
Yeah, again, 2-1 United.
Okay. Jack?
I love Mitrovic. Mitrovic, another secret of mine, one of my favorite players of the Premier League. I love Mitrovic. In Mitrovic's spirit, I say Carlos Vinicius wins it for him 1-0. In the spirit of Mitrovic. I absolutely love that man. Love Mitrovic.
Just having a quick scan through the other slides I've got here.
So
I'm not going to.
A quick
Go on.
question for you, Jack. Like, do you know your analogy about if your mum asks you to do something and your wife asks you to do a chore, who would you choose? So let's say
You
if
finally
Irish,
have your answer an hour and a half later.
no, I don't. If Irish David Harris asks you to do a chore and Aussie David Harris asks you to do a chore, who would you choose, Jack?
Definitely, probably just ignore both of you.
Good answer.
Really good
I guess
answer. Well
I
done.
wouldn't show up for Spurs or Argentina.
Oh, there you go.
Wouldn't leave the bus.
King Holland saying 2-1 Fulham, slab head own goal. I don't think Maguire will get anywhere near that team, will he? Only an idiot will pick him.
Nope.
Yeah. Right. I'm just going to have a quick scan through. Well, we've been going an hour and 40, so I think I might draw it to a close, gents.
I think that'd be lovely. If you just very quickly give us an insight to what your birthday celebrations are other than going to the game, John, be good for us.
Well, most of the day we'll be going to the game because, well, Laura's off to the gym at 7 a.m, so no doubt I'll get woken up by the little one.
Right.
And then apparently she's wrapped about 80 presents, mainly for
Aw.
herself. I think there might be little chocolate bars or something. So I'll enjoy watching her unwrap them for me.
Right.
And then I'm going to have to leave at about 9:30, 9:45 to get the train up. Get up to Tottenham by, I'm on the 10 o'clock train. It takes about 3 hours by the time I've got to Victoria and got the tube and everything.
So, are you going
about
to meet out with any cheeseheads?
Well, possibly Mr. Muir, possibly Franco. I might see some of the West Sussex guys. I was going to meet Caller, but he's bailed.
Not the head of East Midlands Spurs, Craig?
I haven't spoken to Craig yet, but yes, hopefully I'll meet up with Craig. Becky, we're going to meet because I'm sat quite close to her, relatively.
Okay. Nice.
But yeah, so it should be good. Any of you there? I'll be in the South Stand. I'm in block 257. Come and say hello. We'll get a selfie and send it to Dave, just for Dave's pleasure. Dave, you going to get up and watch the game?
I might watch it blind, actually. What time? I mean, I might get up Sunday morning, not know the score, and then a member of my family doesn't know the concept of watching it blind. Tell me the score about halfway through the game.
That's the worst.
He's good at that.
That's just being like slapped across the face. There's nothing worse than that, I would imagine. Especially if you're 30 minutes. If you're already 30 minutes into the game and you've done such a good job about not knowing it, and then someone just tells you, that's worse than it being told right before. I would say.
No, he did it. He did it at the Chelsea game when we were 1-0 down at half time. He starts going, "Oh, I don't know what you're worried about. You didn't lose anyway." Or we were 2-1. Oh, thanks, mate.
Jeez,
Brilliant.
that's so cruel.
Well done.
That's
Yeah, but I love it a bit.
just when
Good question.
yeah.
You go on.
No, I said just when I thought I'd give you enough headaches, Dave, you were exactly right. That sounds a lot worse.
Mate,
Jack, do you know anything about cricket?
No, none.
Okay, who do you reckon? England or Pakistan? Just guess.
I know both countries do take it seriously.
But we are in the
So
final.
they're in the
So that would say that we would. But go on. And that's not a secret.
Geez, I can tell that the world is on edge with my insight here. Pakistan, I'd say for them, just because I enjoy Pakistan's food. I heard they're a very meat-heavy sort of kind of place, so I enjoy good kebab. I enjoy good meat on grills. So I'm going to go Pakistan. Perhaps there might be a bit more protein behind some of the hits from them.
Eric, what do you reckon?
I think England playing really well. So yeah, I think they'll do it.
Yeah, it's going to get rained off, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, because of Melbourne's inability to host a decent event, it'll get rained off. They'll do a super over in the indoor bowling nets, and that'll be the end of it. So Melbourne delivering another spectacular. I mean, apparently they were filming the Robbie Williams biopic down there. Says it all, really, doesn't it?
Ah, cool, Craig. Happy days. So I'll say, Derek, thanks for joining us again for your third appearance.
Yeah, no. Thanks for inviting me. It's been really good. Been really good to meet Dave and Jack. And good to see you again, John. So no, thanks for having me. Hope you have a good game tomorrow. Have a great birthday, and hopefully, come there later on in the season, we get to reminisce about how well Tottenham are still doing, because you'll still be there or thereabouts, whether it's in the league or the Champions League, and hopefully we're not so far in a relegation battle that the next meeting could be the last meeting for me.
I think Leeds will be all right. Jack, thanks for joining me again.
Yep, thanks for having me. Thanks for allowing me to cause Dave some headaches today. I think he did quite well. Thanks for giving me the opportunities to speak about Hill Messi. I know I misbehaved, and I was only supposed to speak about our fellow Yank, Ted Lasso and Brian Hill. I slightly misbehaved and spoke about other things, but thanks for having me as always, John.
And Dave, King Hoddle might have caught on to this, a bit of Sydney-Melbourne rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's list the global landmarks that are in Melbourne that people flock around the world to go and see. Nothing really. Lovely to be on. Derek, I hope, obviously with your further celebrity status, you don't get too much press intrusion in your private life of being on the Cheese Room game. Good luck with that. Jack,
I'll just show you one thing, Dave.
Go on.
Right, that's on my back. That's on my wall.
Oh, beautiful.
I've met two of the three personally.
Nice.
You can guess which two.
Possibly not the songwriter.
No, he's the last one I did meet.
Oh, nice. Very good. So me and Derek are just going to talk for the next 3 hours about mod music from the 70s and the 80s. Lovely to be back on, Jack. At the end of the day, you might think you're giving me shit, but at the end of the day, it's just water off a duck's back. All right?
Just another duck on the couch.
Hey. So, lovely to be back on. John, beautiful job hosting. You do a lot of work behind the scenes. You did the prediction, the correct way of doing it. It's been lovely. Good night and God bless.
You can stay quiet on this bit, Derek. I'm going to say, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.